Hey everyone, backpacking season is sneaking up on us quickly and I don't have any food ready. So today we're going to prepare some ground beef in the dehydrator. But first, we need to go grab the beef. Alright, so today I am following Homemade Wanderlusts recipe for dehydrated ground beef. I tried it myself last year, not following a recipe or anything, and it kind of sucked. I did find a hack that would have improved that, which is bringing an extra water bottle with you and putting your ground beef in that like an hour before you want to eat it and start letting it soak for an hour. And apparently that makes it better, but we're going to try Homemade Wanderlusts recipe today and see if it makes it any better. Dehydrated ground beef is super easy to make. You don't need a lot of ingredients. Basically, for this recipe, all you need is breadcrumbs and your beef. So today I'm going to be doing almost 2 pounds of ground beef, and for the recipe I'm following, it calls for half a cup of breadcrumbs per pound. So I'm going to do just under 1 cup of breadcrumbs. Just under. Set that aside. And then next we're just gonna toss in the ground beef and mix it together. And one thing I forgot to mention is you want to find the leanest ground beef that you can. I have extra lean here. And the reason for that is because the fat and the oil in the meat are what make it go rancid. So the less fat and oils in it, the better. That being said, putting breadcrumbs in your meat does absorb some of the fats and oils. So be wary of that this recipe compared to other recipes won't have as long of a shelf life, potentially. There's things you can do to help prevent it from going bad. And later on in the video, I'll show you what I do to extend the shelf life of my dehydrated food. Alright, so we have it all mixed up and we are ready to fry it up. A very important step in this process is taking your ground beef and putting it in a bowl or on a plate or something. Basically, what you're trying to do is put it on some paper towel and dab it and soak up as much of the grease and oils as you can. And I like to, if I see a fatty chunk, I just pull it out just to help it out as much as I can. One of the things I noticed about this process compared to cooking ground beef regularly is that there was no grease left over in the bottom of the frying pan when I was done, which means the breadcrumbs soaked it all up, which I feel like is kind of concerning because that's what makes the meat go bad. But personally, I'm not too worried about it the way I store it. I'm just not sure how long it would be, how long it would stay good if you just left it sitting in a jar or in a normal Ziploc baggie. A trick to use when you're not using breadcrumbs: after you pull the ground beef off the stovetop, put it in a strainer and pour a couple of pots of boiling water over it out of your tea kettle. I'm just not sure how that would work with the breadcrumbs, so I'm going to stick to the recipe that Dixie used in her video and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so I now have all my beef in the dehydrator, spread out as even as possible, break up all the big bits that you see. My dehydrator doesn't have all the fancy settings, but I will set it to 140. Dixie used 145 on hers. I don't have that, so 140 will do. So now we're gonna flip it on and wait probably like 10 hours and come back periodically and dab it off and break up big chunks and switch out the trays, different levels. Here we go. Alright, so it's been 7-8 hours, somewhere in there, since I tossed the meat in here. Please excuse the mess. I was just working on my trailer renovation. If you haven't checked out those videos, somewhere there'll be a link to the first one. I highly suggest checking that out. But let's see if this is done. So the bottom tray is done and the top tray is pretty close, but I'm just gonna leave it for another hour. Alright, so this ended up taking a lot longer than I thought it would last night. So by the time it was done, it was pretty late, so I just tossed it in a baggie and threw it in the freezer. This is what it looks like. It's now completely dried out. Still tastes good. And now I'm going to show you how I package my dehydrated food. These are, what do you call them? Silica packages. They basically just absorb the oxygen that might be left over after you vacuum seal it. I highly recommend getting these. They're like 30 bucks for like 200 of them on Amazon. It's just an extra step to make sure your food stays good longer. I'm going to portion these out into 1 cup bags. I toss 2 of them in each bag because I have a couple hundred of them, so why not? Before I get started on this, I am going to toss this a little bit into some boiling water, and we're going to do a taste test at the end, so stick around. Alright, so I have all my bags vacuum sealed. I ended up splitting one of them into 2. These big ones are for when Eric and I go backpacking together. And then I got 2 single ones for myself. I ran out of bags, but typically I like to double bag because I've had it before where there's a little sharp piece and it pokes a tiny little hole in the plastic and then it's not vacuum sealed anymore. Just to be extra safe, I double bagged them. The last thing you want is to get sick out in the backcountry somewhere. So these are all done, and now it's time for a taste test. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper. Oh, that's a lot of salt. And some pepper. Stir that in there. Alright, and that's what it looks like. Rehydrated. It only took a couple minutes to rehydrate. Let's see. Really salty. But that's my bad. Otherwise, this is delicious. Adding breadcrumbs makes all the difference, and I gotta say, thanks to Homemade Wanderlusts for this awesome tip. Thanks for watching today's video and thanks for sticking around to the end. Stay tuned and subscribe because I have a few more recipes up my sleeve for dehydrated meals that will change your backpacking game. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys later.